Hello, everybody. I'm Chris Francis. I do go by Chris. Don't worry about any formalities with me. A lot of times there's more than one Chris, and my last name's the first name as well, so I go by that quite often. I'm used to going by that as well, but just go ahead and call me Chris. Just a second ago, you may have heard that voice come over the speaker say this meeting is being recorded. All of our sessions will be recorded this semester, so if something happens, there will be the recording posted on Ivy Learn in a couple of spots. And during the recordings, I do try to make it a point on anything that I record, whether it's pre-recorded and stuck on YouTube or during the sessions, I try to make it a point to speak slowly and clearly. So watching it at 1.5 times speed or double speed should be fine. I do drink a bottle of Mountain Dew right before every lecture, so sometimes that focusing on going slow might not work perfectly at the beginning, but I do try to speak slowly and clearly on anything that's being recorded. So everything will be recorded, so not have to worry about that. Welcome to SDEV 120, Introduction to Logic. It's a very important subject to understand as we move into IT fields. And we'll get started here very shortly, but first off, the dean of our school, Skip Harnert, sorry, I put the R in the wrong place on your name. Skip Harnert likes to stop in and say hi to all the new students. In a class like this, there's a lot of people new to Ivy Tech, so he's gonna greet you all and talk for a moment, and then we will jump right into our class stuff.
Yeah, and I am Skip Harnert. I am the dean of the School of IT, as well as a couple other titles, and who cares? But I like to try to visit particularly these early courses, these 100 level courses, but really any course at any time, just to say hi at the beginning of the semester, particularly in the fall semester when more new students start, particularly for the courses that a new student's likely to be in. So if you are new to Ivy Tech, welcome to Ivy Tech. We certainly appreciate you being there. If you've been here a while or you've been here before, welcome back to Ivy Tech. And we're hopeful welcome back really means welcome back, right? Like in theory, we're doing things virtually wherever we can because I am concerned and the college is concerned about your safety and about the teacher's safety. But we are on campus. You may have campus courses. You may have courses that require you to come to campus sometime, but not all the time. All those things happen, and we can talk about, and you can talk with Chris about at various times, or you can reach out to me about modalities. If you look in your syllabus, and Chris, in truth, I do not know if I'm in your syllabus or just Loida is.
Just Loida.
Okay. I'm going to put then my name and my contact information in the chat. But I am William Harnert, according to Ivy Tech. That's my given name, but I go by Skip. So I'll put Skip second. You can reach me by email. That's probably the best way to do it if you need to, just because that tends to be what I'm in front of the computer all the time. So if you send an email, if you inbox me from Ivy Learn at wharnert@ivytech.edu, I'm going to see it very, very quickly. If you use my cell phone, which I'll also share with you because I don't care, you can call me, you can give me a text. It doesn't make a difference. If you call my office number, which is about to show up in text, about to show up in chat, I'll get it, even if I'm not in my office to answer the phone, I'm going to get an email sent to my email with a transcript or a recording or both of any voicemail message you leave. So please leave a message and I'll get back to you as soon as I can, as is the typical thing, but I really will. And you'll discover that as soon as I can probably means pretty darn quickly for me. I tend to be an early to bed, early to rise person. So if you try to reach out to me for anything at say 9:30 or 10:30 or 11:30, I may not answer right away because I might be in bed, but I'll probably be awake at 2:30. And so you might find an email back from me when you wake up the next morning. Blah, whatever. That doesn't make a big difference. And your main point of contact are going to be your teachers anyway. So when you have a question about the content in this course, you'll talk to Chris. When you have a question about maybe the curriculum that you're a part of or about other courses, you may reach out to Chris if you kind of feel a connection with him. If not, you're going to have chairs for your programs. And if not, you have a dean. And if not, maybe we have our vice chancellor for academic affairs at our campus, who's my boss, or we have our chancellor of the entire campus, the campus boss, or whatever. our main goal is to get questions answered for you all to help you succeed, whatever that means for you. And that's usually, if there's 20 people, there's 20 answers. I want to take this one course and that's all I care about. I want to get a degree. I want to be prepared to go to a 4-year school. I want to get a promotion. I want to get a better job. I want to get this certification. Doesn't matter. We're here for you. Just let us know what's what. My main thing that I'll always say in these short sessions before I let you get back to business, Chris, is just when you have questions, please ask those questions. Own your education. Own your time here at IB Tech. Own. They say there's no such thing as a stupid question. They're wrong. There are stupid questions, but that's okay because you don't care. I'd rather ask Chris, and I've done it before, 10 stupid questions, because then at least I'll get 10 answers. And that's good. I'll learn what I needed to know, whether or not he's rolling his eyes at me or not. I couldn't care less. Hopefully you'll take that, and if you ask a whole lot of questions, if you get in the way, it might be that a given instructor would say, hey, maybe we need to take this offline. Maybe we need to meet outside of class, to get things, to keep things moving or whatever else. But if you have a question, ask. Please ask your instructors, ask your chairs, ask your dean, ask whoever, but let us know what's what. And that can be questions about the course. That can be questions about financial aid. That can be questions about where the hell X is on campus. That can be a question about what if I don't want to come to campus? That can be questions about what do I do if I tested positive? What do I do if I know somebody who tested positive and I ate dinner with them last night? Blah, blah, blah. And Chris will talk about some of those things, at least tonight, as you all review your syllabus for the course and so on. But I just wanted to let you kind of see me, lucky you, I know, hear me, know what I look like, know what I sound like, know how to get a hold of me. So if you do have questions, there might be questions you ask Chris, he says, I don't know. Let me check with the chair, or let me check with the dean. He might say, have you checked with, and then that's fine. That's what we're here for. So please, when in doubt, ask your instructors, ask your chairs, ask me, ask, whatever, and we'll get them answered for you. And the goal is not to pass the buck, but like, for instance, for financial aid, they tell me, Skip, please quit answering these damn questions because you don't know what you're talking about. And if you knew last week, they changed the law 6 times since last week. So you don't know anymore. So, there are certain areas where I will have them reach out to you, as opposed to saying, not my department, talk to so-and-so. Or if you're here physically, I'll walk you to their office and we'll talk while we're walking, and you'll learn where that stuff is. And hopefully we'll all be back on campus sometime soon. So super quickly, that's the introduction. If there's any questions that you have administratively right now, I'm happy to take them, but it's easy for me to say that the first night because no one ever has any questions. If you do run into questions later that Chris can't answer, or that you think are not really cogent to the course, more so administrative, please reach out and let me know. You've got my email address in the chat. You've got both my phone numbers in the chat. You've got my name in the chat. Chris can reiterate those for you as well. If need be, you can reach out to him privately and say, hey, I got a question about XYZ. What's that old dude's name again? Whatever it would be, that we can do that. Thank you very much. That's it, Chris. Back to you.
All right. Well, thank you. So SDEV 120, intro to logic, and everybody in IT has to, in any of the IT fields, have to take this class. So it's usually kind of a full classroom. I think there's 18 people in the roster. When I counted a moment ago, I got 15 names on the list. I do take attendance. You all may have seen me writing that down, but it does not count for anything except record keeping. That's just, I keep a list of who was here, but it doesn't affect your grade. It will show up in IB Learn on the grade book, but it doesn't count for anything. So I just kind of keep that for record keeping purposes. So our class will be virtual. So we will be meeting here every Monday and Wednesday, 6 o'clock on this Zoom room. And I set the Zoom room up so it's always open. If you have a question, and anytime you have a question, we can hop on Zoom and address it. It doesn't have to be 6 o'clock on Monday or Wednesday night. I'll talk about office hours when we get over to the thing. I guess before we start looking at the syllabus and course policies and things, one thing I found about Zoom calls in the last year and a half, I suppose, since all classes have kind of moved that way, is that, you know, y'all are well aware that since elementary school, it's been drilled into our heads to, you know, sit quietly in a classroom and raise your hand and wait till you're called on. And I found that that doesn't work in a Zoom call. So please don't carry this to other instructors' classes because they might feel very differently. But for me, if you have a question, just unmute your mic and interrupt me, because that's in this virtual setting, that's kind of the only thing that works, I've found. I try to keep an eye on the chat room. You'll notice I have a big chalkboard behind me. This is actually, I have that chalkboard in my home gym. That's where I do my mathematics at. Just stare at math problems while I'm working out. But it's worked out really well for this virtual formatting. So a lot of times during the lecture portion, I'll be over there at the board and I might not see everything pop up in the chat room, or I might not see that little hand waving gesture. So if you have a question, just go ahead and unmute your mic and interrupt me. And I do like to see faces if possible. So feel free to turn your cameras on, unmute your mic, and speak up, and we can interact and stuff while things are going on. But especially when we're lecturing, that's one thing I really miss from the classroom, is being able to look around the class to see if things are moving at a good speed, right? Look around the room and see if everybody looks bored out of their minds, or if people are desperately trying to keep up on notes, and can adjust the speed accordingly. And that's kind of hard to do if all the cameras are turned off and everybody's muted. But so I like to see faces, but it's not required. That way there's like head nods or something, some interaction when we're going over it. But the first thing tonight is we're going to look at the syllabus. So I'm just going to be going over a screen share anyway. Oh, I see a couple cameras come on. Thank you all. Yeah, and that way it's just nice to, you know, while class is going on, going over materials, to see faces. Because people have a tendency to just agree, right? I think everybody's experienced that in life. People will be like, yeah, I understand that, but have a look of utter confusion on their face. And it's like, are you just agreeing because you're too confused to answer the question correctly? That tends to happen a lot, so I like to see faces. But yeah, what we're going to do first off here is talk about stuff on the syllabus. I'm going to be sharing the screen anyway. And I like to see people's faces. That way, when we are back on campus, and at least wave at you in the hall or something, which hopefully is coming soon. I have a class the second 8 weeks scheduled to be on campus, so hopefully everything's going to work out for that. I'm anxious to be around people again. A year and a half of sitting at home alone seemed like about enough for me. At least want to nod at people in the hallways or something as we're walking around. But hopefully this class is going to go well. We'll have a lot of fun. Programming can be a lot of fun. This is mostly about logic. We're going to be putting algorithms together, and part of learning to do that, it gets into programming. And for some of us, programming feels like it's like a game or a puzzle. I really enjoy it. I associate it with other art forms, playing music or painting a picture, and it's just a different medium. When we get into software development, the actual label on this course, like making artwork with data as the medium. We're going to learn about some stuff, but first off, and hopefully what we learn you will find interesting, some things that maybe you've heard little bits and pieces about, and the picture is going to start to come together and develop a better understanding of how computers work to build a good solid foundation of IT knowledge on. But first off, we need to cover the course policies and kind of go over some of that. I'm going to share the screen. Hit screen share. So y'all should be looking, everybody should see my screen. I'm going to open up Chrome, which is going to take forever. And you'll probably notice the video got a little jumpy, which is related to something we're going to talk about this evening. It's in the second page of my notes for this evening. When we get to the lecture portion, it's talking about memory and RAM. And whenever a piece of software starts, one of the things it has to do is tell the computer, the central processing unit, how much RAM it needs to run. And these two pieces of software right here, Zoom and Google Chrome, which we will use a lot of in a classroom setting, obviously, because our class meets in Zoom, and well, in our modern world, we use Google for just about everything. But both of those pieces of software, whenever they go to start up and the CPU asks them how much RAM they need, they will try to ask for all of it. So it tends to cause a bit of a conflict, and everything has to be adjusted. That's why they kind of run slow together. So it's something we just have to tolerate, but hopefully we'll, after we talk about RAM and CPU components and stuff here in a little while, you'll have a little bit better understanding of why that slows down so much when these two pieces of software run together. So since everybody made it here, I assume you were able to get on Ivy Learn. So ivylearn.ivytech.edu is where all the course material is. And there's actually a lot more than we'll need. There's a standard statewide shell for the online version. We shouldn't need Java. Java is mentioned some in the books. There's a question in the chat room about the setup and in particular Java. It's mentioned in the textbook in some examples to show differences between languages, but most of our homework will be in a flowchart interpreter because we're really focused on algorithms here. Not everybody that has to take this course is going into a programming field, but we all need to learn some logic. And we typically learn that in programming scenarios. So we'll use mostly a flowchart interpreter called Raptor. We'll talk about that here shortly, where we draw a flowchart and then it turns it into computer code and actually runs the program from the flowchart. And then the textbook has labs that make use of Python programming language, which is one of the things we'll be talking about here shortly. So those are the only two we need, and the Python that we'll use is built directly into the textbook. So you don't even have to install it on your local machine. The textbook, the eBook has a place to run it. Okay, so here's the shell for our course on Ivy Learn. Thought that looked like a neat little picture. Somebody staring at ones and zeros, trying to make sense of it. That's one of the big things that we're going to do in this course. Also, is some of the math behind it. You've probably heard the computers use binary code, the ones and zeros. So we'll learn what that means, what those ones and zeros mean, and how to do math with them, basically, how the computer does that. So when you go to our course site, you'll see the home page, which the generic statewide shell just had a link to the modules, but there's another link to that. So I wanted to replace that shell. I just put like random reminders here. So every week I'll be changing this up of things to do, links to software we might use in lectures or various things. It's just kind of assorted notes is what I was going to put on the home page. I keep trying different things, and that seemed to work out really, really well in previous classes when I tried that before, that just use the home page for random notes about the class each week. And so that's what we'll be doing. So just some notes about some setup stuff. We'll start with the policies, and that's in the syllabus. Is anybody like brand new to college? Is this your very first class, college class everywhere? Mikhail, did I say that correctly? I saw your hand go up. Maisel? Okay. Sorry, Maisel. I saw you seemed to come and go for a minute. Were you having internet problems?
Oh, I just couldn't get it to go on there. I was in a previous meeting for the student success, and I couldn't quite get it out of it in this one. But
oh, okay. Yeah, it takes a minute to get used to everything. There's a bit of a learning curve for using Zoom, and all the different software. But every one of your courses in college, there's going to be a syllabus, which is just the overview of course policies, things we'll be learning, just a general overview of, I guess, just policies for the course. There's not really a better word for it. So there's, start up at the top, my contact info. I always have my phone on me. Text messages and Ivy Learn messages make noise on my phone. You don't know how the modern world is. There's so many things that will beep on the phone if we let it. So the only things that beep on my phone are text messages and Ivy Learn messages. So those are the best two quickest ways to get a hold of me. There's also my email for the school, or over here there's an inbox feature to contact me. We'll talk about contact stuff in a moment. Lots of ways to contact me. Any way to contact me is okay, but text messages and Ivy Learn messages is definitely the quickest. So office hours, you might notice the day seems a little strange compared to other lists of office hours you've seen. I do office hours virtually. Well, this semester is a little bit different. They're trying this Wednesday to start the week on Wednesday instead of Monday thing to kind of, I guess, change things up. But in the past, most classes always end on Sunday. So I never did this in my classes, but everybody's homework was due on Sunday at midnight. So that's when everybody was working on their homework. So like, well, that's the best time to do my office hours. So I do it virtually from 4 to 5 on Sunday. I will be in the course chat room. Note it's not the Zoom room because I can only be on one Zoom call at a time. We can jump on the Zoom call, but I have multiple classes and multiple things that I do the office hours for at the same time. So that's in the course chat room, which I don't think I turned the link on. I better go turn that link on. Hopefully it won't take too long. I was wanting to point at it and it looks like I forgot to even activate the link. And once again, Google Chrome and Zoom calls go very, very slow together. So chat, there it is. Enable that. Okay, so now over in those blue links there on Ivy Learn, you'll see this link says chat. It's just a basic chat room, nothing fancy about it at all. Hopefully it won't take too long to load. Definitely goes a little bit quicker and when not on the Zoom call, but yeah, there's nothing fancy about it. A box to type in, hit enter, shows up there. So every Sunday, I will be sitting there watching this chat room from 4 to 5 o'clock, just in case anybody has questions, because I found over the years that weekends are when most people are working on their homework. So Sunday afternoon seemed a better time to do that. And if you don't have to wait till then or wait till our class time. Anytime you have a question, let me know and I will address it. Those are just the times that I know I will be there ready to answer a question. So some other information. So the chair of the software development department, Floyd Fairweather, some of y'all may know her. Some other information y'all can read. I'll just kind of hit some key points. If there's a problem with Ivy Learn, this link right here is who you contact about any Ivy Learn issues. Basically the IT help desk, Ivy Learn branch of them. That link will go right to it and we'll get that all set up. Disability support. I assume everybody here can read. I'm just going to hit some key points. One thing that a lot of people might not realize, especially if you're coming out of high school and into college, is in high school, all the disability stuff was handled for you. There was somebody at the school that had access to all your records and would do all that, file the paperwork for you, and then they would just come tell you afterwards. But that's not the case at the college. At the college, you do have to contact disability service. So if you need additional accommodations, just follow this link, or let me know, and I can help you get in contact with everybody and talk to them, get everything set up. But they will set you up and then just tell me what needs to happen. If you need disability service, that's the main thing. Is for people fresh out of high school, it's always been handled for you, but if you need accommodations at the college level, you will have to let them know you need accommodations yourself. It's not automatic. The Student Success Center, that's the tutoring here at campus, which right now is virtual, but we are getting ready to move into a nice newly remodeled space. What was the library has been remodeled into a new situation. They gave away books. I went up there like 3 times and grabbed great big stacks of books, as many as I could carry. It's like, oh, I'm not going to pass up free books. Got some great reference material, but they're remodeling it right now. Originally, I'd heard the beginning of September, but the date seems to be getting pushed back today. I was talking to Tiffany earlier today, and they had a meeting with some administrators and a contractor, and everybody is waiting to hear from somebody else before they can even give a date about when work's going to be finished. So that at some time soon, the tutors should be back on campus and virtual. This virtual thing's kind of worked in and it's not going away. Some people really like it. The big one, the big 2 that I've heard over and over again that people really like about virtual stuff is related to gas money and daycare. Right? Some people might drive quite a ways to get to campus, and then when they do that, they have to pay somebody to watch their kids, as opposed to a virtual classroom where they can just have their kids in the next room over and not spend a fortune in gas, whatever it is now, like $3.30 a gallon or something for the cheap stuff, quite a bit. Which leads to the next thing. So there's this Ivy Cares. There's help when we need it. Lots of different programs. So there's a few links there. One of them I highlighted as a separate thing down here, Ivy Assist. Anybody who's ever tried to deal with any of that stuff knows that if you need help in America, there's a mountain of paperwork you have to get through first, right? Tons of applications, and sometimes it's a chore just to find out where you get that application. Well, somebody went through and consolidated that information. So it's not an automatic thing, but it's sort of a database that collects all of the help that's available. So I always like to point out this one, this ivyassist.auntbertha.com. It's here under Ivy Assist. It's not the actual help programs, it's a database that connects to lots and lots and lots of them, which again is going to take a minute to load, but it should be here shortly. There we go. So on the first page, you just have to let them know what region you're in. So I live in Clarksville, so I'll enter Clarksville's zip code. That's fresh on my mind, and hit search. And eventually, much quicker when not on a Zoom call, it gets to this page. So it's like there's 1,786 assistance programs available right in Clarksville. Right? There's lots of help out there when we need it. And this kind of just consolidated stuff. So I mentioned gas. Right? So here under the transit link, if you just need help paying for gas, there's 7 programs here in Clarksville to help pay for gas. So restaurant workers, the government's paying for your gas right now because restaurant workers are back in restaurants, but there's still not a whole lot of tips rolling in, right? So those programs are still around. I'm not sure what that one is. It doesn't really seem much. Healthcare, transportation, food and fuel assistance, emergency financial assistance, veteran stuff, just gas card assistance. So there's lots of help available, and this site, which you saw the link is right in our syllabus, consolidates the things. Or food, the food pantries around if you need that. There's a food pantry right at Ivy Tech College. So if you're find yourself on campus, there is a food pantry right there, and funds are running low. Cabinets are getting empty, but that's when there's no shortage of. You can see there's a lot of things here. That one might be worth your time to check out because everybody needs a little help sometimes. And just finding out where you go to get an application to ask for help can be a chore. So somebody consolidated that, and the link is right there in our syllabus. The textbook. Okay, so the IV Plus program is new. And like with any new thing, obviously right at the beginning, there's gonna be a couple kinks. I've got some emails from people about the physical copies not being ready. And I think a couple people had trouble with one of the ways of accessing the e-copy. If you have a hard copy, the book kind of looks like this. And one thing about the book, any assignments, any of the graded assignments, we have a link to those right from Ivy Learn. So it's under modules. There's another link that I will turn back on, because apparently at first people tried to use the blue link that goes to the textbook, and you have to enter some key or something. But all of the modules, all of our weekly assignments have a link directly to the assignments. And after you go there from the assignment, that automatically passes all the access keys and everything, gets your computer set up to access the textbook. So you have to go in this way first, go to modules, and then like in module 1.
So you suggest going through the modules before the assignment then?
Yes, to get to the assignments.
Okay.
Somewhere down here, there's a reading assignment, I think. I thought there was a reading assignment. Maybe, module 2 has this textbook reading. Yeah, and then when we go in this way, it passes all the access and stuff. So after a couple days, I will turn back on a link over here that says Cengage Cengage something dashboard, but that goes straight to the whole book. But you need a bunch of those access codes and things to type in first. And it's a lot easier to go into modules and just access them directly. So
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
So you might be answering it right now for me, but this book is on Cengage.
Yes.
Like it's not okay. I just wanted to make sure because I got all of my books and I'm still working on trying to view my books in Cengage. I just wanted to make sure that this was a Cengage book and not a physical I need to pick up at the bookstore book.
Oh no, it's a Cengage book. There is just a physical copy as well. Actually,
okay,
it was from here. I'm gonna have to look around and find where the button is. But there was a button here on the Cengage Mind tab that said order a book, and then they sent me this one. So I ordered this from the ebook version. That's where I got my hard copy. But it is an ebook, and it's taken forever to load. But everything should be accessible here. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Can you just tell me the name of the book so I can see if it's in my Cengage?
Programming, Logic, and Design by Joyce Farrell. If not, if you go into the modules and click the link to go to the reading assignment,
Okay.
it will add it to your Cengage dashboard there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so then you can see this just goes right into the book. You can access the table of contents and everything from that. Any of the links that get there. And yeah, like I was just telling Larissa, once you access, if it's not in your Cengage dashboard yet, once you access it through one of those links in the modules, you will see it show up in the dashboard. So all of the links are right there in the modules. And you'll notice there's a lot of things in the modules. Actually, I use the statewide shell just to be consistent with all the Ivy texts, which is actually made for the online version, where people won't have things like me giving a lecture twice a week and writing things on the board. So there's a lot of supplemental materials, flashcards, different slides. A lot of them have links to YouTube videos, just little things to help reinforce the material. So there's a lot of extra material there that help you learn the content, help you pick up the language that IT people speak, right? Every field has its own language, so part of learning IT is learning how to speak like an IT person. The videos can be helpful for that, even if you're not paying attention to them. Just leave them playing as background noise and pick up some of the vocabulary while you're doing other stuff. But there's lots and lots and lots of those videos and other reading assignments that are just supplemental material that was included for the people taking this online, which is kind of sitting at home with no lecture or anything. All they have is the material on Ivy Learn. So I left all that stuff in there so y'all can watch it or leave it off, which means you might want to, whenever you're looking through there, pay attention to which ones have points. Right? Look for the graded assignments, because obviously that's what your grade is based on. I think you'll still see them there. Like you can see here on my screen, the Module 1 discussion. We'll talk about that first introduction soon. I do that a little bit different than everybody else. We're not going to type up a paragraph. We're going to write a program that introduces you. So I figure people are probably ready to jump in and do something. So we'll get started on that. If not tonight, we'll go over it Monday, and the date will get pushed back on it. So yeah, YouTube is great. There's tons of good material on there. There was a comment in the chat room about YouTube. But yeah, keep an eye on the dates, the ones that have points, and the calendar over here on the left. This is a great place to look for, check those assignments as well. Like the normal digital calendars, they're all over the place in our modern world, right? And just like all the other ones, you can sync this with your other calendar. So like if you always use your iCalendar or your normal Google Calendar, you can sync this to the other calendar, just like all calendars in our modern world. I'm not showing. I guess I have it turned off. Let me turn this on. Community logic. There we go. So over here on the calendar, which is in the green navigation section, you'll see all the assignments show up on the due date. And when you turn them in, this calendar will automatically cross them off and everything. So that's a good one to keep track of. You'll also notice like here on week 1, when everything's due. Class start, that new schedule, at first I thought, that seems weird. Start on a Wednesday, end on a Tuesday. Then after I thought about it, it's like, actually, that's kind of nice. Because most people do all their homework on the weekend, which in a lot of situations is the last minute, right? If everything's due at 11:59 on Sunday night, and you're trying to do your homework on over the weekend, you're not going to see the teacher before it's due. So I always had strange due dates, because I made it a point that there would always be a class day to ask questions before homework's due. But that works really nice now, because we started on a Wednesday, then we'll have class on Monday, which is a great chance to ask any questions you encounter on the homework or anything. And then it's due at 5:59, right before our Wednesday class. And then we'll move on to the Module 2 stuff. And as far as the due dates and stuff, I guess we need to go back to the policies here, which I'm apparently a couple links away from. So on the Zoom call, it's going to take a minute to get back there. But yeah, at first I thought it seemed really strange, but then after I thought about it, I was like, I think I kind of like that, because the weekend when everybody has time to do homework and catch up on reading and things like that is in the middle of the week. So there's still a chance to ask questions before anything comes due. All right, so back to the syllabus. And yeah, the textbook issue where we originally kind of drifted away from the syllabus on, that is a new program. So it might take a minute to get everything, all the little kinks worked out. Don't worry if it does. Due dates can easily be changed, pushed back. There's due dates on everything. I'm a very laid back person. I understand things happen. I'm also a big believer that family should always come first. So things happen in the world. Just let me know if there's issues. So there's the book, there's the ISBN for it if you want to order it. Like I said, I was on the eBook version, the one we linked to from it, and I found a button that said, send me a hard copy, and they mailed me this. So you can order a regular textbook right from there.
Like for free? Did you have to pay?
Teachers tend to get textbooks for free.
Okay.
They call them desk copies. So you might have to pay, but at the same time, the school, I believe with that Ivy Plus program, somebody has already paid for that textbook.
Okay.
I don't know all the details yet. I was hoping to avoid that question because I don't know exactly, but it should be covered and it's available to get it that way as well. So here's something you will see in every one of your courses. I always like to point this out, especially in a class like this where there's a lot of people new to college. That's the course outline of record. This is the official, what this course is about. What do you have to take before taking this course? What are you going to learn here? Some information, just the general information about it. The description, and every single one of your courses are going to have this. We call it the course outline of record, everything about it. And part of that is this section down here, major learning objectives. So keep this in mind, not just in this class, but in every single one of your classes, because, well, like this list up here, there's a list of prerequisites, things you're supposed to know coming into a class. And if this class is a prerequisite for another class, then they're going to expect that you've learned all the major course learning objectives. So this is the list of the things you're supposed to learn from this course. So when we get near the end, and I will remind you about this week 7 or 8, we'll go back over this list. But in all your courses, remember to come back and look at those major learning objectives and make sure you feel like you learned everything you're supposed to. Look at that list, and then those are questions you definitely want to ask if you get to the end of the semester and something on that list, you have no idea what it's about. But here on the first night, we're going to talk about all this stuff, and then my rough plan has us coming back here the second day of module 7 and kind of going over that list and talk about how we've seen everything on it. But keep that list in mind, the things you're supposed to learn for every course. And then near the end of the semester, if you feel like you haven't learned something on that, that's definitely the questions you want to ask. These are just things I kind of left in here. Some general statements, the Ivy Tech Library, the link to the site, which is going more and more virtual library. They're currently remodeling the library space to bring other departments in there. And hopefully in a couple weeks, the tutors will be there so you can come and sit and talk with the tutor. There are several people that tutor for this class, SDEV 120. At the very least, I'll be in there some, and Ed Lewis is also in there. There's the schedule for the tutoring is color coded. So any place there's light blue on the schedule is help for different IT courses, and everybody that's in there can help with this one. So there's help in there. And that's going to be in the library, but right now it's virtual. Then some general statements that don't cheat. Make sure you pay attention to copyrighted stuff before you use it. Typically, it's okay to use in academic settings, but you still definitely want to make that a habit of checking in to make sure you have permission to use something before doing it. It's okay it's usually okay in academia, but not so much in the working world. Once we get our degrees, we're out there making money. You want to be in the habit of keeping up on that stuff. The accommodations, if you need assistance or accommodations, just contact the Office of Disability, and they will tell me what to do. Title IX statement, that's standard behavior in America. Everybody here is an adult. If there's any high school students in the course, if you're a high school student taking a college course, you're expected to act like an adult. So I can just say everybody here is an adult. You know, the standard view of the way our society treats harassment. Zero tolerance, and taken to the extreme of zero tolerance in college settings. So y'all can read the law there. Not on all policies. Oh, somebody got cut off. I think she's back in now. Actually, I want to stop my screen share for just a moment because I always like to check this. There it is. Okay. Yeah, it was a couple years ago. I'm pretty sure it's 6, but at one point, I believe the class that Cole and William are in, I would hit the admit button on a Zoom call. If I was sharing the screen, I'd hit the admit button, and all it would do was stop showing me the button. It wouldn't actually let people in the meeting. And even though I'm pretty sure that's fixed, I haven't seen it in a couple years, it still leaves me paranoid. So I want to always have to stop the screen share and check and make sure people came in. But back to the course policies. So this does still count as a face-to-face course. It's not an online course. So, you know, we were kind of forced into the virtual setting to make use of the new technology so that when you go out in the world, you know, go out to apply to jobs, you don't want to say you got an online degree. You're taking face-to-face courses, just doing it virtually. There is kind of a difference there. It's not purely a distance education. So we'll be meeting here every Monday and Wednesday. You all saw obviously, if you made it here, you found the links to the Zoom meeting, and this meeting is going to stay open until the end of, through the whole 8 weeks. So this room will be open. We can, other times outside of class, this is a good place to meet if you have questions and we want to address stuff. There's also some pre-recorded videos. Go ahead and click this link. I put some things on here. There's at least one that I want to talk about. Yeah, so I use YouTube as just like a video storage place. So all these lectures are being recorded, so they will be posted on my YouTube channel. And when I get that playlist, which will be before bed this evening after the video from tonight renders down, and I start the YouTube playlist, I will put a link to it here. If you would rather watch the videos on YouTube where we have normal controls instead of the Zoom recording controls, I always make sure the video get put there. Typically that won't happen till the weekend. It's something I usually do on Saturday morning when there's not much else going on. But for the first day, I'll have that set up today. So there'll be a link here if you would rather use YouTube videos instead of the Zoom recording, because there are different controls. And I believe I pointed it out earlier. Anything recorded, I make it a point to try to speak slowly and clearly so that you should be okay to hit the 1.5 times speed or the 2 times speed and watch it a little bit faster. Then some other supplemental material. This is a playlist I made about a year ago that is just a bunch of assorted things that I'd heard questions about in teaching this course before, like in the classroom, because people tend to ask a lot less questions in Zoom calls, I've noticed. But in the classroom, I periodically get different questions. And mostly those are things that I learned in electrical engineering classes. So they won't necessarily show up here, but some of the terminology might. Like the what originally made me think of that was registers. We're going to say that word a lot, but there's not going to be a really good description of it. That's an electronic component that holds bits. We'll talk about it a little, but I made a bunch of short videos answering those questions that I'd heard before about mostly things that I learned in electrical engineering classes that won't necessarily be addressed here. You might be curious about. Last fall, we did a hackathon, statewide hackathon. Just a bunch of people gathered together to do IT stuff in sort of a competitive setting. And we wanted to do it virtually. So one of the things we tried was making video games. Everybody split up into teams and we spent a few hours making video games on an afternoon. And I was tasked with doing all the tutorials and teaching people how to do that. And a lot of people are interested in gaming. So I stuck that playlist on here as well. This is the one I really wanted to point out though. Remote access. So even though we're not on campus, the whole time it's been virtual, we can still access the computer labs at campus. And well, everybody in this course is going into the IT field somewhere, right? One thing about IT is the only thing the IT guy actually has to be on site for is to plug in a loose cable. You know, fix cables or actually mess with some of the hardware stuff. Most everything can be fixed remotely. So if you're going into IT, you probably wanted to get a little bit of practice with remote access. And it's set up so we have remote access to the school's machines. And for the School of IT, we have our own network. We have 2 computer labs that are separate from the Ivy Tech network. So you don't use a different login, different username, different password, and everything. Which if you already have an account, they're going to clear out the database. So please log on and reset that account. If you're new here and don't have an account with the School of IT, here's the temporary login and password. Those are usually around for about the first 2 weeks, sometimes first 3 weeks if they got busy and didn't hit the delete button yet. But you'll want to log on there, and when you log on, there's a spot to create an account for the School of IT labs. You'll want to do that. And if you already have one, please renew it because they're going to be clearing out the database around the beginning of October. So old accounts that people haven't logged on and clicked the renew button will be there. There's really good written instructions right up. It's not too complicated, but I went ahead and made a video a couple years ago anyway. But that's on there. And if you're going in IT, you're going to need to be doing some remote access from time to time. So it's good to practice it. When you log on there, you'll see a bunch of different rooms, the computer labs you can log on to. And room 158A and 162 are our computer labs. They're separate from the others.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm actually in Indianapolis. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you know which rooms are the computer labs and what is the login for those computers.
I don't know about the Indy campus. This is a Sellersburg course, so
Right.
you'll be fine to use these labs. Just go ahead and log into the Sellersburg ones. I'm not sure, not all the campuses have a separate lab. Since IT is right there at the central office, you all might not have your own separate labs in the IT department. But then again, Kevin's still dean, isn't he? Kevin probably did set up a separate lab. But I don't know about the ones up there in particular. You might have to ask somebody closer to Indy campus. I can ask Kevin. I have to talk to Kevin this weekend about something else, so I can ask him for you.
Yeah, sure. That will be perfect.
Yeah, he's also in charge of all the AWS stuff, and I have to get a certification about Indy. Since I'll be talking to him in the next couple of days, I might as well put that on my list of things to ask him about.
Thank you.
So, yeah, but whichever campus you're at, or this is a Sellersburg course, so you should be okay to access the Sellersburg computer labs and everything. You're definitely going to want to get some practice with remote access of machines, because it's not drastically different, but it is a little bit different. So it's good to get familiar with it. One of the biggest things, if you're used to using a lot of keyboard shortcuts, which I will be pointing out a lot of those as we progress through this semester. If you're used to using a lot of keyboard shortcuts, when you do remote access, you're probably doing that through a browser, in which case the browser, the use of the keyboard on the browser overrides the normal keyboard shortcuts. So they won't all work that way and stuff. So there's some little adjustments we have to make. That's why I definitely recommend practicing that, and you'll see it there on the list of video lectures. So back to the syllabus. Our course is scheduled 6 to 8:50, but it's lecture lab. Tonight we're going to go over a bunch of policies and to start talking about a few things. So maybe a little bit longer tonight than normal, but we'll try to make sure there's plenty of lab time every week, because this is an active subject. We learn by doing. So we'll talk about some concepts, go over some examples, and then we'll kind of end the Zoom call portion. So I keep my video set up here. So the chalkboard here that's in my gym, not my office. So I have an extra video set up special video set up thing for the class here, and I will keep that up the whole time we're scheduled, so that after our Zoom call section ends and we go into lab time, if you have any questions, you can just send me an Ivy Learn message or a text message, and we can jump right back on the Zoom call to address the questions. But I will end the Zoom call in order to get the recording. That way I can post the recording as quickly as possible, because there's going to be examples and stuff we go over in the lecture portion that'll be helpful. But we typically won't be here we're not going to be here till 9 o'clock every night. We're going to do some lectures, some lecture on concepts, go over it in examples, and then split off into lab time so y'all can do that on your own, because it's a very active subject. You learn best by doing it. Yeah, we'll have these sessions every Monday and Wednesday night at 6. And if you're going to be kind of late and want to hop in, just let me know. I can stick around longer or something. But my video setup will be like, the Zoom call will end, but I will still be sitting right by my computer, ready to hop back on here in a couple seconds notice, up until 8:50 every night. The grades will be kept up in the grade book. Just a policy about that. So due dates. The school started a new thing. The semester starts on a Wednesday and ends on a Tuesday. Talked about this a moment ago. I kind of like that, because then the weekend, when most people will be doing reading and homework and stuff, is in the middle of the week. So then on like Monday, there's a chance to ask questions, a good time to ask questions instead of the weekend being the last minute. So all of our stuff will be due at 5:59, with the obvious exception of the last week, because October 12th, which is a Tuesday, the semester officially ends at 11:59 on October 12th. So basically midnight between Tuesday and Wednesday. As Tuesday rolls over to Wednesday is when the class actually ends. So that's a few hours earlier. But I also front load the class courses. That way when we get near the end and everybody's exhausted and some of the other classes might be getting really busy, our workload should be getting a little bit lighter. But everything's due except for that last week, at 5:59 p.m. the next Wednesday. So like module 1 homework will be due right before our class starts next Wednesday. Some things will be accepted late, some things won't. So keep an eye on that. There's a penalty for late homework. The things that are accepted late, there's a 3% point deduction for every day that it's late. And a computer does that. So computers are very precise with their time tracking, right? If the cutoff is 5:59, that means computer is going to count 6 o'clock as the next day. So if you turned in at 6 p.m. instead of 5:59, the computer will apply that late deduction. So it's probably best not to wait till the last minute anyway. Some things I don't really accept late work on. If there's a scored assignment that's a setup type assignment, those have to be done during that week, because obviously we're going to need whatever we're setting up, right? If the assignment is to install some software, send me a screenshot that shows it's running on your computer. Obviously that has to be installed before we move on to the next part. So those I don't accept late. And discussion boards as well. It's like a conversation in the classroom. What discussion boards are supposed to simulate that extra little bit we get just in the social situation of a school, right? When you're talking to your classmates leaving class, going back to the parking lot, those types of conversations and stuff, those do contribute to education, right? It's in that reiterative thing. Hearing the material again, using the vocabulary, and that is definitely missing when we're all just sitting by ourselves next to our computers in an online situation. So discussion boards were supposed to take the place of that. So it's like a conversation, and just like a conversation in the hallway at campus, if you aren't there for the conversation, you miss the conversation, right? So each week there's a discussion board, a topic to discuss with your classmates, write on that, write your thoughts, right? Whatever you think about the topic, or just drift off into other conversations in general. I'm pretty lax with grading that. As long as you write something, I'll put the points on there for it, basically. Make sure you write that, and discussion. If you miss the discussion, you miss the discussion, just like a conversation, right? You can't show up late to a party and bring a topic back up that everybody else got tired of, everybody else has already talked about. So those don't get accepted late. Quizzes will be accepted late for one week. So on a quiz, like module 1 quiz, is due 5:59 next Wednesday. But oh, 2 people are in the waiting room. What's going on? So the quiz is due at 5:59. Oh, our computers doesn't seem to want to log on. That's joining. But it will stay open for another week. Then there's that daily point deduction for 7 more days, and then the quiz will close and lock. That's the policy. I'm a pretty laid back person. I understand things happen. So if stuff happens, just let me know. I'm usually pretty accommodative. Exams are a little bit different. Exams, you have exactly 1 week to do an exam. So which is just the final exam here. So it's going to open exactly 7 days before it's due. And and it has to be turned in. So it's just the final exam, so it has to be turned in before the class ends, basically. So it's a very shut off point. Deadlines are in Eastern time. Santos, you said you're in Indianapolis. That's the same time zone as Millersburg. But if anybody is up near Chicago or Evansville, and you're in Central time zone, keep an eye on that. Remember that I believe Ivy Learn will automatically adjust the times to your local time zone, but I'm not positive about that. So keep an eye on it. Just remember it is Eastern time for that 5:59. If you live in East Chicago or Evansville, it's going to be 4:49 for you. Just some general policies. And I like to change those up. You may be used to other classes where everything's due at the same time every week and nothing ever varies. This is the first time I've even had everything due on a Wednesday, because that's not good practice for the real world, right? In the real world, we do not have deadlines like that. Deadlines change. Well, deadlines change on us anyway, even from what they were supposed to be. But we can't. We don't have everything's going to be due on Sunday night. Some stuff needs done on Monday. Some stuff needs done on Thursday. So I like to switch that up. I like to not have all the deadline. I like to not have everything due on the same schedule because that's just better practice for the real world. Makeup policy, y'all can read that. So if you haven't done anything by a certain date, I will submit your name to the registrar or whoever that email goes off to, whoever reads that email. And because it's by August 23rd, which I believe is next Tuesday. Does that sound right? Or is that Sunday? Oh, 23rd is Monday. So if you haven't done anything by Monday, we assume that you didn't mean to take the class. Right? Like you registered for it, but didn't intend to register for it, or something happened. You will be automatically dropped. But that obviously that does not apply to anybody that's here tonight. I got a list of everybody's names as you came in, so that doesn't apply to anybody here, but it may be in other classes. By a certain date, your instructor will turn your name in to be dropped from the class because we just assume that you're not coming if you haven't done anything by a certain date.
I have another question.
Yes.
If you have like a vacation planned or something, and if we communicate with this like before and we have our work and we do our work by the deadlines or we attend via Zoom, like even if we're on vacation, is that acceptable? Like, are we gonna get penalized for that or something?
Oh, no, I'm not strict with attendance. I take attendance, but only for record keeping, as long as you can do the material, right? As long as you're passing the quizzes, passing the exams, getting the homework in, that's what matters.
Okay.
Because everybody learns best, right? Some people, a classroom setting is not where they learn best. And I did that even in the classroom. Like I didn't require attendance. I'll be here every week talking about this stuff. But yeah, like you said, is the ideal situation. You know, if you know when your vacation is, let me know in advance. I can stretch out due dates and stuff because I know how vacations get, right? We're exhausted when we get back from vacation.
Yeah, thank you.
The drops. And along with drops, there's two things. There's drop and withdraw. Does anybody know the difference between those two? Have you heard those terms before? So a drop is like you never took the class to begin with. That's where you drop. If you drop it, it doesn't show up on your transcript or anything. It's like, that's for the ones like, oh, I registered for the wrong class. Or, oh, the school changed the names of a bunch of classes and I already took this one. I don't need it. So drop it. It's not on your transcript or anything. And you have until August 23rd to do that. A withdrawal, however, that's where, when we get things happen. Right? Life shows up and throws us some curveballs and we're not going to be able to finish the class. So if you withdraw, then it still shows up in your transcript. Your transcript will show a W that shows you started the class but didn't finish it. And I'm fairly certain that when you do go back and finish the class, that W gets replaced with a grade. But until you finish it, it still shows on your transcript. There's also the money thing, right? That's important in America. If you drop a class, which you can drop through August 23rd, which is Monday, that is also the last day you can get 100% of your tuition back. So between August 23rd, or really the 24th, and September 28th, the amount that you get back, the refund of your tuition that you get back gets lower and lower and lower. And as of sometime around September 28th, there's no refund back from the tuition. Like, okay, yeah, that's already dropped down to all the money back. You're just not finishing the course. So that's the difference between a drop and withdrawal. Just to have those on in case you need them, keep those dates in mind. Hopefully everybody's going to finish though. It's computer stuff. We're here because we're computer people and programming can be a lot of fun. So once we get through all this boring policy stuff, we'll hopefully get to some stuff that's a little more fun. What time is it? 7:10. So I'm going to speed up a little for these last couple things so y'all can read. My contract with school says I will respond within 36 hours. If you don't hear back from me in 12 hours, something bad probably happened. I'm one of those people that checks my email 20 times a day. So I usually get back quickly. Some general things. There is an official communication channel, and that's the Ivy Learn inbox over here. It's just sort of an email feature. Might as well click on it, point at things. I was watching the clock. I was thinking we need to take a break by 7:15 at the latest, and I was expecting to be through the syllabus by then, so try to pick up the pace. But it's just a regular email, the little pencil thing here. Pull up this list, and then you can choose from courses. So I think this is our course, and then the button over here, you'll see the list of all the people in the course. So like you choose from a list who the message goes to. So that's the official channel of communication. Any way you can find to get a hold of me works. A couple years ago, we're on campus. One day I was sitting in the parking lot, just finished eating lunch and was getting ready to go in. I saw a student that was in my 1 o'clock class run out the doors as fast as he could, run across the parking lot, jump in his car, and speed out of the parking lot. Clearly an emergency. That counted as that's valid communication, right? Any way the message can get across is fine with me. But there's an official communication channel, so please repeat things there. But I think I said earlier, text messages and Ivy Learn messages make noise on my phone, so that's the biggest way. Here's the breakdown of the assignments. There's a discussion board every week, except the last one, which is just a topic to talk about. Should be fairly easy. First one's a little bit different, but we'll see that in an example. A couple exercises, like really there's one when we get in math part, and another one that's just a thinking thing that we'll talk about later. A couple non-programming exercises, not necessarily algorithms. IoT, is everybody familiar with that term? Have you heard that?
Yes.
Stands for Internet of Things. That's all our things that aren't computers. Go ahead and networking them together with our computers. That way we can control them across the internet and stuff, right? Like controlling coffee maker from the phone. That way you can turn the coffee maker on and there's a fresh pot when you get home. Connecting all the things that aren't computers to our computers. It's a big deal in the world, so I did put together a lab. I wrote up some step-by-step instructions. I think it's in module 4 or 5. After we see selection structures, because that's in there, but I put together a step-by-step manual to just do a brief introduction to how IoT stuff works. I see those. The debugging exercises are something in the book. They'll show you a little snippet of code, and you have to find the problem in it, figure out what's wrong with the code, and fix that. Should be fairly straightforward on those. They're in the textbook assignments. Programming assignments. There's each week the textbook has some Python stuff. We're going to talk about that after a break. That'll be that's the next thing I have on the list to talk about. But we also have we'll put together algorithms. That's the process by which we do things. And we focus on it a lot in computer stuff because computers need the algorithms broken down to the simplest case, right? Computers are not smart machines. We started putting that label on them, but they're still mindless machines. So we have to break it down to every single step. So a big chunk of this class, what we say when we mean logic, is how to put together algorithms and breaking it all the way down to a process that a machine can follow. So that's really what this class is. We'll do it in sort of a programming format, but it's how do we give instructions to a machine? Because no matter where you're going in IT, you need to know how to give instructions to a machine. Even if you're never going to sit down and write a program, you're going to have to tell that machine what to do at times, and that involves logic and breaking things down into the algorithms the machine can follow. 6 quizzes, those are in the textbook. So obviously it's just, you know, the reading section, and then there's some questions about the section you just read each week. There's a final project. We'll talk about that later when we get close to it. And then an exam at the end, a bunch of multiple choice things to cover that. So that's sort of our general policies and things. But we've been at this for over an hour now, right? Probably take a break. Like, I could really use a drink because I've been talking for an hour nonstop. So I'm gonna have some coffee. So why don't we take 10 minutes? Does that work? Sound good to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
so 7:16. So we'll meet back here at 7:26, and I'm gonna stop the recording. And you might notice I use these necklace type microphones. So I'm gonna mute that while I drink a cup of coffee, because that's obviously very, very loud on the microphone. But I can still hear you. So if you have any questions, just speak up, and I will be right back in here to unmute this. I'm gonna go grab a cup of coffee, and I will see you all at 7:26. Oh, and I'm gonna stop the recording while we do that. No need to record the break.